Here's something that might shake you up. 89% of women in a recent intimacy survey admitted they have secret desires they've never told their partners, not because they don't trust them, but because they're terrified of how they'll sound if those words actually leave their mouths. And what I'm about to share with you, these are the exact things running through her mind that she will take to her grave before admitting out loud. Unless, of course, you figure them out first. Now, before anyone starts clutching their pearls, let me be crystal clear about what dirty actually means here. I'm not talking about anything that belongs on a restricted website. I'm talking about the raw, unfiltered desires that women have been socially conditioned to suppress since childhood. The things we want so badly it almost hurts, but asking for them directly, that feels impossible. And I can already hear some of you thinking, why don't women just say what they want? Oh, that's adorable. Let me explain how that actually works in reality. From the time we're little girls, we're taught to be polite, accommodating, and never too demanding. We're supposed to want romance, but not be too much. We're supposed to enjoy attention, but not crave it. We're supposed to have desires, but definitely not voice them because that would make us, what? Inappropriate? Desperate? The conditioning runs so thick that most women don't even realize they're censoring themselves. A study published in the Journal of Sex Research found that women are significantly more reluctant than men to communicate specific desires to their partners, with 62% reporting they've held back requests out of fear of judgment. That's not a small number. That's the majority of us walking around with unspoken wishes, hoping our partners will somehow read our minds. Spoiler alert, mind reading is not a skill most people possess. So what happens? Women drop hints. Tiny, almost invisible hints that get missed entirely. Then frustration builds, then resentment creeps in, and then relationships suffer because of secrets that were never really secrets at all. They were just truths that felt too risky to speak. But here's where things get interesting. The 7 things I'm about to break down aren't complicated. They're not requiring superhuman abilities or a psychology degree. They're surprisingly simple when you actually hear them. And the men who understand these, they become absolutely magnetic to women, not because they're using tricks, but because they're finally speaking a language women have been desperate to hear. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what women are silently wishing for. And fair warning, number 5 is the one that catches most men completely off guard, even the ones who think they've got everything figured out. Let's get into it. Number 1. We want you to take control of the small decisions. This is going to sound counterintuitive in an era where women fight hard for independence and autonomy. But hear me out, because there's a massive difference between controlling someone and taking control of situations. Every single day, women are making approximately 35,000 decisions. What to wear, what to cook, what the kids need, what's happening at work, what bills are due, what everyone else in the household requires. Decision fatigue is real, and studies from Cornell University actually confirm that the mental load falls disproportionately on women in heterosexual relationships. So when a woman comes home after managing everything and everyone and her partner asks, "What do you want for dinner?" or "Where should we go?" something inside her screams. Because what she desperately wants, what she's silently begging for, is someone to just handle it. We're going to that Italian place at 7, wear something comfortable. That sentence, that tiny assertive statement, it does something to a woman's nervous system. It signals that she can finally, for just a moment, stop being the project manager of the relationship. But this goes beyond restaurants and dinner choices. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist at Rutgers University, explains that women are neurologically wired to respond positively to confident decision-making in partners. It's not about dominance or control issues. It's about the relief of not carrying the mental burden for once. A woman I know told me about her husband who started doing this small thing. Every Friday, without asking, he would have a plan. Didn't matter if it was just takeout and a movie at home. What mattered was that she didn't have to think about it, organize it, or decide it. She said those Friday nights saved her sanity. Now, this is crucial. Taking control doesn't mean ignoring her preferences or steamrolling her opinions. It means reading the room, understanding what she generally enjoys, and making executive decisions that show you've been paying attention all along. The men who get this, they stand out immediately. Because in a world where women are constantly asked to decide, plan, and manage, the man who steps up and says, "I've got this," becomes incredibly attractive. And this leads perfectly into something even more specific that women are dying for but refuse to admit. Number 2, we want you to notice the details and act on them without being asked. This one seems obvious on the surface, but the execution is where most men miss the mark entirely. Women don't want you to notice things and then wait for instructions. We want you to notice and then do something about it, on your own, without being prompted, reminded, or asked 17 times. Research from the Gottman Institute, which has studied couples for over 40 years, found that one of the biggest predictors of relationship satisfaction is whether partners pick up on each other's small bids for connection. And these bids are often incredibly subtle. She mentions her shoulders hurt after a long day. The wrong response? That sucks. The response she's secretly hoping for? You coming up behind her later without announcement and just starting to work on those knots. She says her favorite candle burned out. She's not reporting this information for record-keeping purposes. She's leaving a trail of breadcrumbs hoping you'll follow them to the store and surprise her with a replacement. This is how the female brain often operates. We communicate through context, subtext, and the assumption that if someone loves us, they're cataloging these small moments. A girlfriend of mine tested this theory once. She mentioned to her boyfriend, casually, that she'd seen a book she wanted but didn't buy it. Just mentioned it once, in passing, during a random conversation. 3 weeks later, her birthday arrived. He got her something completely unrelated. The book never came up. And she wasn't upset about the present he gave her. She was disappointed that her subtle communication hadn't registered at all. Now, some might argue that's unfair, and maybe it is. But fair and reality are two different things. The men who develop this observational skill, who actually listen to the throwaway comments and file them away for future use, they create an almost supernatural bond with their partners. Because that woman feels seen, truly seen, in a way that words alone can never accomplish. Here's a practical framework. When she mentions something positive, something she wants, misses, or admires, make a mental note or literally write it down in your phone. Then act on it within a reasonable time frame without any fanfare. Don't expect applause. Just watch her face when she realizes you were actually listening. But now we need to discuss something that sits in much more controversial territory. Number 3, we want you to be a little bit jealous, but only the right amount. Okay, this one requires extremely careful handling because it can go very wrong, very fast. No woman wants an insecure, possessive, controlling partner who monitors her phone and interrogates her about every male coworker. That's not attractive. That's a restraining order waiting to happen. But here's the secret nobody talks about. A small flash of jealousy, a tiny hint that you recognize other men might find her desirable, and that thought doesn't sit entirely well with you? That's actually thrilling. Evolutionary psychology offers some explanation here. A partner who shows zero concern about potential competition signals on a primitive level that they might not be fully invested. It suggests indifference, and indifference is the opposite of passion. Dr. David Buss, professor of psychology at the University of Texas, has written extensively about mate-guarding behaviors and how they signal commitment. When a man subtly demonstrates that he values his partner enough to be slightly protective, it activates deep-seated feelings of being desired and cherished. The key word here is subtle. She's getting ready for a girls' night, looking stunning. The wrong approach. Who's going to be there? Why are you dressed that way? I don't trust those friends of yours. The approach that actually works. You look amazing. Try not to cause too many accidents out there. One comment is controlling and suffocating. The other is flattering with just the smallest undercurrent of possessiveness. It says, I know what I have, and I'm aware the world can see it too. Women will never directly ask for this because it sounds ridiculous out loud. Please be a tiny bit jealous, but not too much, and express it through witty comments rather than aggressive behavior. That's not a sentence anyone speaks, but it's definitely something many women feel. The balance here is critical. Too little jealousy reads as apathy. Too much reads as insecurity. The sweet spot is the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth but also recognizes and appreciates his partners. And speaking of things women can't bring themselves to verbalize. Number 4, we want you to push back sometimes. This one is going to be controversial, and I expect some disagreement in the comments. But stay with me. Agreeing with everything a woman says is not the path to her heart. In fact, constant agreement often creates the exact opposite effect. It builds frustration, erodes respect, and makes a woman feel she's in a relationship with someone who has no backbone. Now, this does not mean being argumentative or dismissive. There's a universe of difference between, I disagree with you on this and here's why, versus, you're wrong and your opinion doesn't matter. What women actually crave, though they'll rarely admit it, is a partner with genuine opinions, actual convictions, and the willingness to stand by them even when she pushes back. A psychologist named Robert Glover wrote about this phenomenon in his work on relationship dynamics. He observed that men who constantly seek approval and avoid all conflict often end up less respected by their partners, not more. The desire to please becomes repellent because it signals that the man has no individual identity outside of the relationship. Think about the most magnetic people you've ever met. They weren't the ones who agreed with everything you said. They were the ones who engaged, challenged, and made conversations interesting because you never quite knew what they'd think. A woman I talked to described it this way. When my partner challenges me intellectually, when he has a different perspective and actually defends it, it's attractive. It reminds me he's his own person. But when he just goes along with everything I say, I start to feel I'm dating myself. The execution matters enormously here. Pushing back should come from a place of genuine disagreement, not manufactured conflict. It should be respectful, articulate, and focused on ideas rather than personal attacks. And here's the twist. Sometimes a woman will test this. She'll stake out a position just to see if you'll agree simply because she holds it. If you always capitulate, you fail the test. If you thoughtfully offer an alternative view, you become more interesting to her. This requires authentic self-knowledge. You need to actually know what you believe, what you value, and what hills you're willing to stand on. That kind of groundedness is irresistible. Now, what I'm about to share in number 5 catches most men completely off guard. Number 5, we want you to be just a little bit dangerous. Dangerous. That word alone probably raised some eyebrows. So let me be extremely specific about what this means and what it absolutely does not mean. This has nothing to do with violence, aggression, or actual physical danger. Women do not want partners who are unstable or threatening. That's not attraction. That's a survival response. What women secretly crave is the sense that there's more beneath the surface. An edge, a wildness that's controlled but present. The feeling that you're capable of intensity that you normally keep restrained. This taps into some of the oldest psychological wiring we possess. Research on attraction has consistently shown that women are drawn to men who exhibit what psychologists call controlled intensity. The sense that there's power behind the calm exterior. The completely predictable, entirely safe, never surprising partner becomes over time a bit boring. And I know that sounds harsh, but sexual and romantic attraction often needs an element of the unknown to stay alive. This doesn't mean you need to become a mysterious stranger who refuses to share anything about yourself. It means maintaining dimensions that aren't immediately obvious, having private interests, personal ambitions, occasional surprises. One woman described her most attractive relationship memory. He was always so calm and composed, but one night we were out and someone was being aggressive toward me. The way his entire energy shifted in that moment, I'd never seen that side of him. He didn't do anything crazy. He just handled it. But seeing that he was capable of that intensity while normally being gentle, that contrast stayed with me. The contrast is crucial. Danger without gentleness is just threatening. Gentleness without any edge can become forgettable. Many women fantasize about partners who have this duality, the person who is kind, steady, and reliable, but who also contains depths that haven't been fully revealed. The sense that there's still something to figure out, even years into a relationship. How do you cultivate this? Stop being entirely predictable. Maintain interests and friendships outside the relationship. Occasionally surprise her with spontaneous plans. Have opinions you feel strongly about. Keep some small part of yourself that isn't entirely domesticated. And while we're discussing things women struggle to articulate. Number 6, we want you to initiate more. and not just in the obvious ways. When most people hear initiate more, their minds go straight to one place. And yes, that's part of it. But this runs much broader than physical intimacy. Women want men who initiate conversations, plans, affection, adventures, and yes, intimacy too. The common thread? Being the one who reaches first. Research from psychology professor Amy Muse at York University found that partners who regularly initiate both romantic and non-romantic connection have significantly higher relationship satisfaction scores. The act of reaching out without being prompted signals desire and investment. But here's what many men miss. Initiation has to happen outside of just wanting something in return, texting first during the day just to say you're thinking about her, planning a date without waiting for her to organize everything, reaching for her hand in public, pulling her in for a hug when she's doing something ordinary. These initiations, when they happen regularly and without expectation, create a feeling of being wanted that women find intoxicating. A woman once told me about her past relationship where her partner never initiated anything. I was always the one to plan dates, to start conversations, to reach out first, and even though he said he loved me, I never felt desired. I felt I was managing a project, not experiencing a romance. That's the trap. When women always initiate, they begin to feel unwanted, even if that's far from the truth. The mental narrative becomes, if he really wanted me, wouldn't he reach out first sometimes? The men who understand this make a point to be the initiator at least half the time. They don't wait for green lights before showing interest. They create momentum. They reach out because they want to, not because they're responding to something she started. And in physical contexts, this matters even more. Many women are hesitant to initiate intimacy because they fear rejection or being seen as too forward. When the man consistently takes that first step, it removes a tremendous amount of pressure and creates space for desire to flow naturally. But there's one final thing women are dying for, and it might be the most overlooked of all. Number 7. We want you to tell us exactly what you want, specifically and without apology. This is the ultimate paradox of modern relationships. Women are taught that men should defer to them, ask permission for everything, and always prioritize her comfort above their own desires. But secretly, many women are exhausted by partners who have no clear wants. What do you want for dinner? I don't know, whatever you want. What should we do tonight? I'm fine with anything. What do you need from me? Nothing, I'm good. That pattern, repeated thousands of times, slowly drains the attraction from a relationship. Because a person with no stated desires is, on some level, a person without presence. What women actually want, though it feels risky to admit, is a partner who knows what he wants and expresses it clearly. Not aggressively, not demandingly, but with calm confidence that says, this is who I am and this is what I need. Psychologist Esther Perel has spoken extensively about this in her work on desire. She notes that one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess is self-knowledge combined with honest expression. When someone can say, I want this without shame or apology, it creates polarity, tension, and genuine interest. This applies across all dimensions of a relationship: professional ambitions, personal needs, physical desires, emotional requirements. The man who can articulate these things, who doesn't make his partner guess what's going on inside his head, becomes magnetic. A friend shared a turning point in her marriage. For years, my husband would say, I'm fine to everything. I had no idea what he actually wanted. Then we went through a rough patch and started therapy. He finally started telling me specific things, that he needed more physical affection, that he wanted us to travel more, that certain things in our relationship weren't working for him. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. Was it also the most attracted I'd felt to him in years? Absolutely. There's something deeply appealing about clarity, about a person who knows themselves well enough to express their needs. It signals maturity, confidence, and presence. And here's the secret benefit. When you express what you want clearly, you give your partner permission to do the same. The relationship becomes more honest, more alive, and more satisfying for everyone involved. So there they are. 7 things women desperately want but struggle to put into words. Taking control of small decisions so she can finally rest her overworked mind, noticing details and acting on them without needing instructions, showing just enough jealousy to signal you know what you have, pushing back respectfully so she knows you're your own person, maintaining an edge that keeps things interesting, initiating connection without waiting for permission, and being clear about what you want without apology. None of these are complicated, but together they create something most women have never experienced: a partner who actually understands what's happening beneath the surface. Now, everything I've shared today assumes one critical thing: that you're actually paying attention, that you're developing the awareness and presence that makes these behaviors natural rather than performed. Because here's what separates men who attract women effortlessly from those who struggle endlessly. It's not tricks or techniques. It's a fundamental understanding of psychology and human nature that most people never bother to develop. And this is exactly why I need you to watch what's appearing on your screen right now. The video titled, "Women Can't Ignore Older Men Who Master These 4 Traits." Female psychology breaks down something that builds directly on everything we just covered. Those 4 traits, they're the foundation that makes everything I described today actually work. Without them, you're trying to build a house without a foundation. With them, you become genuinely unforgettable. Click that video now, because understanding these traits first would have made this entire conversation unnecessary. That video is where everything starts to click.